A happy new year to you. This is a younger version of myself interviewing present version of myself. Without further ado, Mr. Newman, a husband, a father, CEO of TechSource Studio and Accessories Limited. That was quite the intro. Thank you. The owner and operator of TechSource Studio and Accessories Limited. That has the nicest ring to it. It is 2025. How are you feeling? It's 2025 and I'm feeling hungry. The same hunger that you had a few years ago. I'm feeling driven. I'm feeling motivated, and I'm grateful.
So, Mr. New, for those of us who have not seen the articles, who have not seen you online, on the various platforms, who have not heard about you or know your story, tell me a little bit about how you got into the creative industry and why you started.
Well, if you haven't read the articles and you haven't seen our story or heard our story, I've told it a million times. I started out in photography and I needed some gear and I simply could not find them locally. So I'm a solution-oriented guy, and I basically came up with the idea to ship a few items, buy them online, ship them to Jamaica. Shopping online was fairly new to most persons at the time. And so I decided to just try it. It worked well. And I decided to buy one or two of everything that I was buying for myself. And I posted them in a Facebook user group that I was a part of. And the rest was history. We started getting orders left, right, and center. We started doing custom orders because I started out with just batteries, chargers, basic items, soft boxes, flashes. Those were the staples, right? And until I started selling light stands and a few cables and other items. And then I started selling video lights. So I had multiple stocks of 5 to 6 items. I'd never run out of those, and I'd keep them in my car trunk. All while doing photography, I'd get calls at all hours of the night. Persons would call me. Their flash broke, or they needed rechargeable batteries, or they needed a battery or a charger. And I was the saving grace, so to speak, and I was always there to the rescue. If it was hours at night, I'd charge a fee and I'd meet them somewhere central, get them gear. And so that's how it all started. I saw it blossom and I decided that I wanted to register the business because the demand was obviously growing. So I didn't want to overthink the name, so I was like, all right. I wasn't selling cameras at the time, but it was camera-related gear. It was camera tech. It was like camera tech, all right? But then I didn't have everything available locally. I did not have a store, I just had a few items. And so I'd always tell persons that if we don't have it, we'll source it. So then it was TechSource. And then I don't remember exactly what I was listening to or reading, but it got me thinking that I need to start planning for the future. And so I was like, all right, it's TechSource. Obviously, this business cannot stay in my car trunk. So ideally, I'd want to have a storefront. And if I have a storefront, where can I go from there? It's like, what goes well with camera tech? It's like, all right, I might as well have a studio. And so it was TechSource Studio. But then it felt incomplete. So it was then that I came up with TechSource Studio and Accessories Limited. So that was from like maybe the first 6 months of doing that little side hustle while doing photography, and the demand grew. And basically from inception, it was like the name was a way of manifesting what was supposed to come. So we just continued to listen to the customers, continued to supply whatever it is that they need, and believe me, we got the support. We have been Jamaica's official and main supplier of gear since inception. So I must say it has been a journey. and we have gotten the support from everyone from the beginner to the experts in the industry, and we have gotten the stamp of approval, and we've just continued to listen and serve and expand and grow.
What are some of the challenges that you have faced being a business owner, owning and operating this business?
Some of the challenges that we faced earlier in this business was that we did not have a space for ourselves, and we basically built this business from scratch with no investment, with no money saved up. It was literally just bootstrapping. So when we would do a sale, we would invest the money back into the business, and that's basically how we grew the business. We kept investing as we went along. So we didn't have a space, and so I'd have to be the voice of trust or the voice of reason, because we didn't have a location that persons could come to. So the Jamaican market is one that, typically you don't trust someone unless someone recommends them or say that they've bought from them. So there was that, but I was able to maneuver that by just being confident and having the conversations, and also there were persons that could vouch for us and the quality of our products and the services that we were offering. So that was one of the main issues, not having a location and the trust issues that came with that. Another challenge that we had that came from not having a location was that it was hard for me to scale. So the fact that I didn't have a location, it was hard for me to even look into getting persons to help. So it was just me for a couple of years, which wasn't bad because I was very passionate about it. So while that was a challenge, it wasn't a big hindrance. If anything, I loved the fact that I could call myself an industry professional. I was someone that persons could have a conversation with about from a pin to an anchor as it relates to photo and video equipment, and that was refreshing. That was refreshing for a lot of creators. Another challenge that I had was that after a couple of years doing the business, I started another business, IT Courier Limited, and that business was pretty hectic. I basically had TechSource on the back burner for a long time. I even looked into closing down the business. It was Travis, Mouchette, and a few others that really encouraged me and said that, listen, if you shut this business down, where are we going to get our gear? Because I was basically the only supplier, the only official supplier. And so I just kept a few items, I kept a few flashes, a few stands, I kept memory cards here and there. And I always just kept like minimum stock of those just to keep the business afloat in case anyone called, because I'd still get calls and WhatsApp messages, Facebook messages all the time asking for gear. And so I'd facilitate them while focusing on the other business. So yeah, we did that for a while until the cries got a lot louder, and we had COVID hit, and then we started getting a lot of calls. Persons were requesting gear. The year of 2020, 2021 was the year of definition for TechSource. That year showed me that even though the world was shut down, marketing, film and photography was a very resilient industry nonetheless, because persons needed a medium to reach out to their audiences or to continue to sell their products and services. And so TechSource inevitably.
What were some of the goals that you set out in 2024, and how many of those goals did you achieve? How well did TechSource do in terms of your vision for 2024? So for 2024, some of the goals that I had in mind were to obviously push sales. Year over year, we set our quota and we try to do more sales than the year before. But even more so, one of the things that was most important to us was community building. And so we tried our best to, showcase our team, showcase our different talents, and just keep the creative community informed as to some of the things that we were working on. Make the community a part of the journey. So that was one of the major goals for us in 2024, and I feel as if we did well in that. Thank you for tuning in thus far. Stay tuned for part 2, where we'll be discussing the studio space its inception and all the upgrades that we've done thus far.